were something like 36 bioweapons labs in Ukraine
of
U.S. origin.
Yes.
So why is Ukraine perfect? Ukraine's perfect. To run a bioweapons lab, you need first world infrastructure.
Yep.
And third world people to test shit on. Ukraine's pretty much got that, right? Because Fauci, for example, in the United States, when he had to do clinical trials, when one of his lower rank, they'd go to foster care. They would do clinical trials on foster children.
What?
Yeah, you got to read Kennedy's book. Yeah. He did an estimate. They used an estimated 14,000 foster kids to do clinical trials. They said the kids would figure out they're getting sick and they wouldn't want to take the meds.
That's like Nazi.
So I think Fauci's been doing damage to people and killing people for many, many years. Yeah.
But to do clinical trials on foster kids, I thought after the Second World War, when both the Japanese and the Germans were doing things like that.
Nuremberg Code?
Well, exactly. It was codified there, but for scientists, but for the rest of the world and certainly American culture, we were taught that testing potentially dangerous drugs on people without their full consent or on the weakest among us or, euthanizing mental patients or whatever, all that was bad.
Right.
I thought that was one of the big lessons of the Second World War.
Well, as we both know, that there are no rules.
Well, is that the truth?
There are no rules, right? There are none. I think you mentioned, or someone did in one of your podcasts about the travesty, maybe it was Walter, about the travesty of locking down. You show me, you tell me how old a kid is, and I can tell you what subjects he does not or she does not know. So if you were studying trigonometry the year that everything was locked down, you don't know trigonometry at all. We pretended to teach them. They pretended to learn. Nothing happened.
And do you see that now?
Well, you could see it going through the system. So, for example, our first-year grads who were taking organic chemistry during lockdown, when they showed up, they were very weak in organic chemistry. Yeah, you could see it. So think of the poor kid who's 5 years old trying to learn how to read and write and everything through a mask, right? And there's imprinting periods, right? There's periods where you learn to read and write or you're kind of in trouble. And so it was disastrous. It was absurd. And the whole thing was done by Fauci.
But
our Zoom group, by the way, had Scott Atlas. And so I asked Scott, I said, Scott, was it malicious? Fauci and Birx, did what they do was malicious? And I think it was. I mean, I think there's evil forces behind those two, but he took a different tact. He said, you cannot fathom how stupid those two are. That was his answer. He said, Fauci never gave a scientific argument, never. And he said, one day, this is astonishing. He said, one day, this is all recorded, so I'm not, talking behind his back. There is a recording on the internet with this. He says, one day he walks in with a scientific paper that Atlas had read. And so he's thinking, whoa, Fauci's actually going to say something scientific. Fauci went to say encephalomyelitis. Now, if you work at the 7-Eleven, you might stumble on that one. But if you're head of the entire health organization, you shouldn't. And he said he botched it so bad it was unintelligible. And Atlas said, come again? What'd you just say? And Fauci wouldn't repeat it. He said Birx was yanking shit off the internet, making pie charts, having not a clue what it meant. Not a clue.
That's terrifying.
Now, here's the Chris Malice, though. He didn't speak up, I don't think.
Fauci.
Atlas. I think he sat there.
You probably heard about 8 Sleep. Lots of people are talking about it. It is a company with one mission, improving your sleep. And it's changing the way people do that, the way they get a good night's rest. We just got word that their team is launching a new product. It's called the Pod 5. It's an original and innovative mattress cover plus a blanket that uses precision temperature control to regulate your body's sleep cycles and give you the perfect sleep, which really, really matters. It can range all the way from 55 degrees to 110 degrees, meaning that you're covered no matter what. It's like electric blanket to the next level, but also a cooling blanket. So it makes you sleep better. Temperature has a massive effect on the way you sleep. By the way, it also detects snoring. And then it adjusts your bed position to reduce or completely stop it. So there are a lot of ladies in America who are going to be grateful for this product. Everybody who works here will tell you, because they all use it, that there's no better way to be alert, productive, and happy than by sleeping well. And 8 Sleep really does help. Visit 8sleep.com/Tucker. Use the code Tucker to get $350 off your Pod 5 Ultra. If you don't like it, you return it within a month. That won't happen. We think you'll love it, but you can if you want. 8sleep.com/Tucker. Can I ask you to back up just a moment, though? So you're describing now incompetence, but you alluded earlier to malice. What do you think the dark forces behind Birx and Fauci were?
Well, I think first of all, they love the fact we're talking about whether it came out of a lab in Wuhan, because that way we're debating whether to blame the Chinese or not, right? When in fact, I think it came out of a lab probably in North Carolina. A number of guys have tracked both the disease and the vaccine back years before it showed up on our dinner plate. I think low level of malice would be.
Wait, you think it came out of a lab in North Carolina?
Yeah, Ralph Barrick. Yeah, you can follow. A guy named David Martin has followed the patent trail. And an artificial organism can be patented, not a natural one.
Yes.
And you can follow the patent trail on COVID. And you can follow the vaccine patent trail. And
so
watch it get moved around, move from point A to point B.
If it was created in North Carolina, how did it get to Wuhan? And what was that?
We were funding research in Wuhan because we were not allowed to do gain of
right.
Sorry, I keep tapping the table.
Oh, it's all right. This is a topic that deserves some table tapping.
I've done podcasts where I have headphones, and I have 3 Boston Terriers, soon 4, and they snore. I can't hear them because my headphones are noise dampening. And then I listen to the podcast, and you hear this humongous amount of snoring behind me. So I'm aware of background
You didn't
noise.
bring the Terriers this morning.
I didn't bring the Terriers, no.
So, but I just want to flesh this out a bit. You think it was created or begun in North Carolina, then brought to Wuhan
to be elaborated, to be studied, so I think we took everything offshore because it got gain of function got banned in the U.S.
What are they distracting us from by having us focus on Wuhan?
Well, huge amounts of grift. You interviewed Catherine Austin Fitz.
Yes.
I've been blessed.
A smart woman.
So I come out of nowhere. I have no credentials beyond those that I can create, right? And I think one of the ways you create it is by being truthful.
Yes.
And I know truth is everything to you.
I try to make it that.
And actually in this book, The Moral Animal, they say the reason we self-delude is so that you can be truthful and deceive your opponent. That's what self-delusion is.
Yes.
And
I've practiced a lot of that.
I've been adopted by some people who didn't have to adopt me. And so, for example, I'm tight with Steve Hanke, who's a famous economist. And Catherine has been very supportive. And there's several dozen who somehow have decided that I'm worth their time and help me. And so they're useful to chat with. They're useful to, but Catherine's story, and a lot of people think Catherine's nuts, right? But she talks about the huge amount of resources that have been siphoned off in the tens of trillions of dollars of resources that have been
I know
siphoned
Catherine
off.
Austin Fitz, you can disagree with her. She's not nuts. That's not true.
She's not what?
Nuts.
Oh, no, I don't think she is nuts,
No,
right?
No, she's a grounded person.
She could have things wrong, but
100%.
that's totally different. And I had another friend who I think is phenomenal, tell me that she's nuts and don't get near her. And I said, no, I don't think so. But we all can get sucked down into the rabbit holes to the point you can't get out too. There are days where I wish, why don't you just go play golf?
Yeah.
Or right now I'm on my house is hanging off a 100-foot cliff looking west over Cuga Lake. I can literally throw rotten fruit off my deck and drop it down into the drink from, I'll show you afterwards, I'll show you photos. The view is such that if there are places in the country where the view would cost $20 million, not in Ithaca, of course. And I have people come and visit. They should. It's beautiful. I can't remember why I said that. That's probably
You're saying that people dismiss, the few who are just committed to pursuing truth no matter what as crazy. And you gave Catherine Austin Fitts as an example, but you said you can actually go crazy.
Oh yeah,
by looking too carefully into.
So the
what
lake
actually
I'm
happened.
on turns out broke the New York State smallmouth bass record about 3 years ago. Broke the New York State largemouth bass record last year, and I used to fish all the time when I was a kid, and I haven't fished it. What's wrong with this picture?
Well, if you've got smallmouth bass there, I think you need to fish it on a fly rod.
I know.
It'll totally change your life.
It's not a fly rod. It's a deep lake. It's a...
but you can catch them on the surface with a popper. And if you catch a sizable smallmouth on a popper on a fly rod,
I'm a 18-foot deep shoal guy. But,
you are sinking line.
But so, my wife thought that I had fish removed from my thumbs because she never saw a picture of me that didn't have a fish hanging off my hand. But I haven't fished it.
Because you're absorbed in trying to figure out what's happening. I'm absorbed in
raising kids. I'm absorbed in other things. My wife has issues I got to help her with. And I have this fear of buying a boat.
But you, as someone who has taken, ample intellectual energy and intelligence and focused it on trying to figure out what are we watching, which I think is like a fair way to describe what you're doing. Like, what is this? What's the truth of it? Has that been worth doing?
That's the question.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.